Last thing on this one, and just kind of Florida State's exclusion, and then I'm going to give you a quick thought on these matchups that we're going to get in the actual playoff. The worst thing that happened was obviously Bama winning, and that's the best thing that happened for Texas, because if Georgia wins that game, I believe that if you go through the same argument that I just did during the course of this podcast, which is path of least resistance, guess what the path of least resistance would have been at that point? You don't have to reward Texas's win at Alabama. They have a loss, and Florida State would have been number 4. Georgia would have been number 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, and Florida State would have been number 4. The fact that the fact that Bama won is what sent Florida State home, because Bama was never going to be left at home. That's the path of most resistance, which means Texas had to be included because they beat them in their home stadium. And at that point, the Jordan Travis injury became the excuse for the path of least resistance, and that's how we got the 4 that we did this year. First blush, let's look at these matchups. First blush, here we go. Let's take a look at the Rose Bowl first. When I first saw Michigan, Alabama, I immediately thought to myself, going to be a tough one for Michigan, in particular because of Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is absolutely the most dynamic running quarterback that Michigan will have seen during the course of the season. Now, it's been a great defense. There's no doubt. One of the best, if not the best defense in the country. But that's a dynamic that they will have to deal with for really the first time. Nobody on their schedule has been able to threaten them like Jalen Milroe will threaten them. I think that Tommy Rees has gotten better and better as the offensive coordinator of the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they're going to have a formidable battle at the line of scrimmage with a Michigan team that is built to be great at the line of scrimmage. Milroe played really well in that SEC championship game. Now, so that's first blush, his ability to run and use his legs. I think that could cause the Michigan Wolverines some problems. In the other matchup, the Texas and Washington matchup, I immediately thought to myself, that's a bad matchup for Texas. Why? They're 95th in the country in pass defense. The one weakness of this team, I would say overall, they're pretty balanced and pretty good, but their one weakness is defending the pass. And they're going to go and defend the best passing game in the country with McMillan back. What Kalen DeBoer does with that passing game, and Michael Penix is outstanding. Penix is an amazing passer of the football, and that's where you have to beat Texas in order to beat them. And that's what Dylan Gabriel was able to do late in that game, to drive down. He got loose with his legs a couple of times and completed a couple of passes. So to me, I immediately give advantage Alabama, advantage Washington, and yet I believe they're both dogs. I think Michigan's favored by 1.5, and I believe Texas is favored by 4. And first blush, I just thought that those were tough matchups. The best matchup that Michigan could have gotten would have been Washington, because Michigan's pass rush and their secondary is uniquely suited to line up with Washington, and then they could also then try to bully them at the line of scrimmage. I think Alabama's best matchup would have been getting this Michigan team, because we don't know how Michigan's going to deal with a mobile quarterback. I think Texas would have rather seen Michigan or Alabama. Again, this is the one area where they're really weak, is defending the pass, and now they're going to have to defend the best passing game in the country. By the way, a year after they just played Washington in the Alamo Bowl, so some familiarity there between those two. All right, that'll do it for today's program. And again, man, college football it's incredible. We were talking, by the way. So Steve, as you know, when I mentioned Steve is my right hand. He and I prepare for and talk about everything that I say, whether it's on a game broadcast or on these shows. And so we were talking earlier, and he just brought up to me, and I would just leave you with this thought here as the last thought of this kind of playoff reaction episode. He said, don't you think that it's amazing that college football is dominating sports talk right now? Isn't it at least a positive that even though there's some frustration, and debate going on that this is the lead story in sports. And to that point, absolutely. College football has never had a better regular season on television in its history than what we just had in 2023. I have said it. It's said in the show open. I believe we're at the dawn of a real golden age of the sport where guys stay in college football for now 4 and 5 years versus leaving right away to chase money in the National Football League. I believe with the transfer portal, we're getting more parity. I think we're going to get more parity with the playoff. Are we still going to have problems and discuss those problems? Yes. But boy, these are champagne problems because this sport in this moment is the king of the sporting world, at least in this country. So all positive things.
Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.